Well, I started in 1985. Before that, I had found that flour, salt, and water recipe from when I was a kid. My mom used to make that for us. And then when my son was a baby, I found an article in one of those women's magazines with the recipe. So I started making them. I used Sculpey, and I didn't even know it came in color. So I would color it with food coloring. I would get powdered food coloring and mix it in, and I still have some of those pieces.
And did the colors stay?
Well, they weren't very bright. They were kind of, yeah, and I think they tended to fade over time.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the color, so that was so exciting.
Where did your signature cane is the fabric, the fiber?
The fabric, that came from a class with Kathy Ampt.
That was us out at...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I still have that first cane I made in her class. But I'm really into adding the linguine, adding things like tea. If you take translucent and add tea to it, it's like rice paper if you do it really thin.
Tea as in loose tea?
Loose tea, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I love making those canes. And I don't usually have any reason for them. I love the colors that I pick and just putting it together. And then I decide what to do with it later, pretty much. That for about a year.
Yeah,
it was
and you had your branches, your polymer covered
right.
branches hanging everywhere, and I thought it was magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun. That's a good way to use up scrap clay.
Do you still do that?
Yeah, once in a while I do. Yeah. I have branches all over the house.
Do you really still?
Yeah, and I thought I should try and make mobiles out of them.
Yes, you made your living this way, but it was a tough time.
It was hard to do because I had to do everything. I had no help. I did have assistants, a couple assistants for a while.
Were you in wholesaling or were you?
I was wholesaling.
Oh.
Yeah. I had an accountant that helped me with my QuickBooks. So there was lots of expense involved. The first sales that I did to a gallery, though, I used that book. And I made up a flyer, and I sent one to every one of those names in the back of the book. And I got a 10% positive response from it.
Wow.
Which is pretty good. So I have some pictures of my studio at the time with boxes and boxes of things that I was filling up with angels to send. So I became a slave. I became a production artist, just slaving away, making tons of this. I never made the same thing twice. I just can't. Because halfway through I find a better idea. Sometimes I would suddenly realize that I was going to have to make more and more and more. And oh my God, I didn't want to. I was terrified. And when I grew up in Ohio, that's where we lived one block off the main drag, the main street. So you could walk to the library, you could walk to the movie theater, you could walk to any restaurants or the Five and Dime.
And you wanted that.
I wanted that. So that's what I've got in Bremerton.
And a gallery that you're working in. But you said earlier you were a lazy artist. You are a lazy artist?
I'm kind of lazy. Yeah. I can go years without creating anything. I have.
And what has triggered it when you got back on the wagon?
Well, usually it's finding a new tool.
Really?
Or seeing some other people's work. I go, oh gosh, I want to do something like that. The thing that amazes me the most is that I've lived long enough to get over a lot of the things that used to annoy me and bug me when I was young. That You know, I used to cry a lot. I used to have fits over all kinds of things. I used to blame everybody else for my problems and stuff, and I've got over all of that, you know? The nice thing about getting old is that you're no longer afraid of all the things that were scary when you were young. You've been through all this stuff, and everything turned out, you know? What was I so afraid of? That's something I always hated, housewifery. And I finally have given up on it. I don't care, you know? I don't care what my house looks like anymore. And the studio is just covered with clay and, you know, boxes of tools and everything. And it's the brightest room in the house.
Where did you get your color sense? Because you have a really great color sense.
It's just as inbred in me. I don't know.
You weren't trained?
Well, you know, when I was in college, we had a color physics class.
Did you major in art?
I did, yeah. I have a BS in advertising design. Yeah, from the University of Cincinnati. Yeah.
You feel like you always had that?
I have always had that. I have I have a scrapbook I made in the 7th grade. And you can see in that my design sense and my color sense was there in the 7th grade. Yeah. So yeah, I couldn't tell you how to choose color. I've got that book by Lindley and Maggie, but it's just automatic. I just, free hand it.